Welcome back, y'all. Another episode of Evolving Through Experience, where we discuss everything growth mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and beyond. And if you're not growing, bro, today's a great day to start. Evolving Through Experience is the only way. Like, we got to change these narratives. We got to change how we moving around mentally in all aspects, because if we not, it's life or death. And I tell y'all that all the time, it's life or death. So we got to start today. And if you haven't started, like I said, today is a great day to start. And understand, it takes time. Evolving takes time, but the time is now. So today we have a special guest, Ivy. How you feeling?
I'm feeling amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Nah, glad to have you on. I'm glad to have you on. You know, we met recently. But at the end of the day, I pretty much was like, okay, we got to get you on, because I've been wanting to get a story like this. Obviously, I don't know if that's a good thing to say, because obviously based on your story, which we got to get into, but it is a good thing because of how you've been able to grow from it. And there's so many other people, men and women, that have been through the same thing you've been through. So let's start off. Let's tell them a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I'm Ivy. Hello, everyone. I am a Mississippi girl at heart, born and raised in Mississippi, went to college there. True family, Southern girl, catfish, cornbread, greens, Jesus. Lots of family and good music. And then I spent about 15 years, well, a little bit over 10 years in Memphis. That's where I really started my career. I got into banking. I majored in communications. I was a reporter for a little while. I covered a couple of murders, just different little things like that. And then I moved to a few little things. And then I moved to Memphis. And like I said, I started my career. I ended up getting into banking and finance. And from there, my career really took off. So I have over 15 years of banking, lending, life insurance experience. A lot of what my work does now is I'm really interested in closing the wealth gap, making sure that I'm talking to minority communities about the power of investment, actionable financial literacy, high income earning skills, as well as business ownership.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely about to get into it. You know what this episode is called?
No, I don't.
I know. I'm about to tell you. Never looking like what you've been through.
Ooh.
So obviously we know, like I
Thank
said, when I first met you, after we spoke, obviously, and I just want to shout out to my bro and my sis, Chris and Zayla, of course.
For sure. Love you, Chris and Zayla.
Shout out to them. But after we spoke, pretty much, I found out more you've been through. Obviously, we met on, like you said, in the finance industry at one of your events. But then we spoke and we was like, okay, we found out you've been through these certain circumstances. Domestic violence is one. Absolutely. So let's go ahead and start with that off the top. I'm going to let you go ahead and go into it.
Okay. So off the top, yes, I am a domestic violence champion. I don't consider myself to be a survivor, because I believe I'm a champion. I triumphed over that. So I was married a couple of years ago, and when I got married, it looked great on paper. I was a branch manager at a bank. He was a dentist. We met. We fell in love. You know, clearly. My motivations were to have a great relationship, but then I will also be transparent and say that, you know, of course, as a woman, it is important to marry up. However, sometimes when you are, or maybe not even marrying up, but just making sure that the person who you marry, that they have a prosperous future as well. So, of course, looking at, like I said, everything looked great on paper. We both were successful in our careers, so it wasn't like it was a complete step up. I was always already extremely successful. But I do think that looking at only the financial benefits of us two joining together, I allowed that to block me. And, you know, you look over red flags, and I just heard this thing the other day. It's like, you look over one or two red flags, and then your life is like Six Flags. You know, you get to going upside down, round and round. So, anyway, I mean, initially the relationship was great. We got married, but I will say this: like the night before we got married, we had an argument about something, and I'm at the time, and sometimes I do still struggle with this, but I'm just not an aggressive, confrontational person. So I was just like, you know what? It's the night before we get married. I just turned around. I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you tonight. But when I turned around, he did push me. So it wasn't like but it was a push. And it was the first time he put his hands on me. And at that time, I was younger. Marriage, I come from.
How old were you? Don't mind me asking then. All right, never mind.
At that time, maybe like 28.
Okay.
So I mean, not
you're still young though. So yeah.
Okay.
Still
So
young.
I'll say it like this. Well, the next thing I was about to say is that I come from a family where they do believe in marriage. So many of the people in my family are married. That's just one of the principles of just the way our family, that's a characteristic, I'll say, of our family. And so to be married is also something that I was programmed, and it is something that's important to me. So program or not, I do still believe and value marriage. But I will say at that time when that situation happened, I didn't have enough strength. It happened the night before I got married. My family was in town.
Yeah.
I didn't have strength to say, wait a minute, let's pump the brakes. Okay. So maybe like a year and a half, maybe 2 years after that, things were definitely getting a little bit testy. By that time, I had my daughter. But I do remember, at that time, we both enjoyed to drink casually. But I'm just a happy person anyway.
As you should be.
I'm just a happy person. So, but then I would notice that sometimes he would get a little bit, like just little things would make him angry. So not even necessarily aggressive. It just started off noticing that it's like, this is something relatively small and you're getting the amount of anger you're expressing doesn't match the situation. So, several times, I was new in my marriage, so I definitely tried to say, do you want to go to counseling? Is there anything I can do? At that time, again, I was young in my marriage. I grew up in a very traditional Christian household. So, you pray about these things. You talk to your pastor, your pastor's wife. I remember, I was Googling, how to be a good wife, like reading books, definitely trying to make sure that if it was something I could do on my part, that I was definitely trying. So again, and even extending the courtesy, saying, hey, I feel like there's some unresolved issues that you have. I know sometimes I'm getting blamed for them, but I think it's something deeper. So just really trying to have that open and honest conversation. Like, I see some things that are going on. I see the way that you're reacting. And I do feel like it's something way deeper that needs to be excavated, addressed, looked at, and removed. And you can't really remove it unless you're willing to look at it. I remember I even reached out to his mom. I'm like, hey, he's, some things are like, what was his childhood? Maybe can you tell me more about his childhood? Like, what are the family secrets? I'm in the family now, so what is it? But his mom, you know how it is within certain communities. I won't say all communities, but as African Americans, and they're actually Nigerian, but we can all keep our stories to ourselves because we want our family to have a certain prestige. And so, the reluctancy to be transparent about whatever it was, even to this day, I still don't know. I know it's something with childhood, but I don't know exactly what it is. But essentially, long story less long, about 2 years into it, one night we had went on a date night. And like I said, I will step back and say, from the night he pushed me, maybe 2 years into that, there were a few times when we had an argument. And I remember one time he grabbed my arm and my arm was hurting for a while. Then I remember one time he did something else. He grabbed my neck. He didn't choke me, but this was maybe 2 years. So it was just, I was really battling within myself. God, is this something you're going to save? Is this, I'm so early into my marriage. I'm so early into my marriage. It can't be ending already. We're just getting started. So just battling with those things, and really wanting to be a wife, wanting to, I'm a branch manager.
Yeah.
Again, he's a dentist. We drive a Range Rovers. We're about to purchase a house. My daughter goes to private school. So all of these other things as well, I will also admit, definitely played a part in why things take so long or why you don't accept that first sign. You're weighing out these signs versus everything else that you potentially have access to. And even if it is just the title of saying, I'm a wife, I know several women, just to have that title, it's very valuable to them. So again, there were maybe at least 3 instances, and all of these instances were sometimes alcohol was involved, but sometimes it would be saying, hey, you stayed out a little late. Like, we're just, it was things like that, like signs of infidelity. And, right before we started the podcast, as I've said before, I'm not confrontational, but when something doesn't sit well with me, I will eventually, I will address it. And I mean, at first it's just like, hey, it's soft. You start off soft and then whatever. But
really underneath y'all boiling.
Underneath we're boiling because we're trying to get down to the bottom of it. So anyway, in each instance, it was something that I was asking him to be honest and just the reluctancy, like I said, to be honest about whatever was truly going on. And so one night we had went on a double date with my best friend. She's still my best friend. We had a great time. On the way home, I think I had dozed off, but I gave him the address. And so anyway, we ended up getting to arguing about like an address. And it was like such and such Parkway versus the same street, same address, and like circle. So it was like the same street number, same name, but the Parkway versus the circle. That's what the argument was about. And I just remember we had picked up my daughter from the sitter, and he was just still arguing. Like I said, just it's something about when I enjoy a cocktail, but if you don't have self-control over your anger, over your decision-making, over your discernment, you don't need to be drinking.
Agree. 1,000%.
Now, if you can drink and get the munchies and laugh, have a good time, and go to sleep, and you can do that in a control, and you can control yourself, and it's not, you're not doing it every day, that's one thing. But when you ingest alcohol and things that you haven't addressed, those demons, they will spur up. And you either have to have the emotional intelligence to feel yourself when you're crossing over into another boundary. But needless to say, that's what we got to arguing about. And he attacked me in the car. And I will never forget, like I was sitting something told me to sit in the back with my daughter. So I was sitting in the back seat. He was still trying to go back and forth about this and that. And he just turned around and just started like wailing on me. And I remember just the shock I had. Like, I did not think that this was going to go this far. I mean, I'm glad I'm at this point now, but it was like he beat me like I stole something. I was like, what? I just remember just the shock of feeling a man's fist all upside my head. I'm talking about, it was just, and it was, I know it was the alcohol, because when you lose control and you stop and you're in a rage, I know it's something else has fed into that. So I'll say it like that. But I'm not saying that he was not at fault. I'm just saying that the alcohol definitely exacerbated the situation. And so, now, I have 4 brothers. So, I mean, hey, I wasn't just screaming now, okay? I tried to get me, 1 or 2 back in. Because, I mean, I'm defending myself at that point in time. Like, I'm defending myself. I really didn't know it was about to go that way, but I don't want anybody to think I just laid there and took it. No, I did whatever I could do, but this is a man, and I'm a woman, and, definitely for any woman.
Definitely not a man, but go ahead. Definitely not a man, but
a male, correct. And I do want to encourage women, like, there are some women who are aggressive. And you're not a man. They have more certain hormones, muscle mass, everything. Like, I would encourage anyone to never challenge a man. And even if you have one of those men who would not hit you back, just still don't. That's not cool. And I can say that coming from the other side of the situation. But I do know that there are some aggressive women, and, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the aggressive, angry, hyper-masculine
on any side.
On any side.
Agree. Yep. It's so much to unpack right there, honestly.
I know, right?
Just
it's
let
so
me
know
much.
Where you want me to
I'm going to start first. I want to commend you. The first part I want to commend you about is, like you said, before you started, you said you're a champion of domestic violence. I've met people that overcame it and they just said they're a survivor. I never heard somebody say champion. So I want to commend you on that. And I like that. And I think we're going to use that. We might even have to switch the title because that's valuable right there. And I think that's taking it to another level. I think surviving, calling yourself a survivor, is a great level. But like we said, with evolving, it's a continuous process. So the new level is champion.
The champion.
So like you said, to back it up just a little bit, I know you said for a minute you was doing all the research, trying to figure out how to help. So you said you didn't blame yourself, or you did blame yourself at some point, or feeling like you was to blame?
I think at that time, I'm not going to say I knew I was to blame. I think I was just looking for solutions because I did want my marriage to work. So I'm a very solution-oriented person.
As you should be.
And I do believe that, and at that particular point in time, I will say I didn't have this necessarily frame of mind at that time, but I do believe that we create our own experiences. So I don't think I was as deep into the rabbit hole then, but I do believe we create our own experiences. And I believe that what I was trying to do was to create a different experience. So I was willing to pray. I was willing to, do you want to go to counseling? Do you want to do marriage counseling? Let me read some articles. I was willing to read books, all the things. And that's just me trying to preserve my family. Again, correct. I come from a family, a very close network, families, marriages, why, that's what I know. And so it's very valuable to me. So when I saw it was at risk, I was just looking for solutions.
To fight it. So with that being said, I want to ask this. Do you feel like someone that could be a downfall? Because in this sense, obviously you overcame it, but we look at people for what we think they could be, with the value we think they could be versus for who they truly are. So do you feel like that is the exact reason why that could somewhat be a downfall? Because you did this because this is what you've been taught, you've been programmed, like, look, this is how it's supposed to be with raising a family. So at any sense, you're looking past all, obviously, the red flags, and you like, okay, let me keep trying because this is what I truly value. So do you feel like that was somewhat of a downfall?
For sure. I will even say that statement that most of us have heard, what goes on in the house stays in the house, and don't tell nobody about your marriage. Your marriage is sacred. You're not supposed to tell. So, and the thing about it is, if it's nothing to hide, you should be able to talk about it. Even if you're just going to your family asking for advice.
Correct.
You should have that space and opportunity to do it. And so I will definitely say the pressure maybe that I was putting on myself was a part of that. So me also trying to have this picture perfect life that I created in my head. Again, I have the degree, I have connections, I'm in the corporate world. The next stamp is essentially the husband, the child, the White House with the picket fence. And so I will say that having those family values are extremely important. I don't regret that. I feel like understanding the balance. I feel like this is whether you're married, family. Oftentimes we're in situations where we're either choosing another person or we're choosing ourselves. Or we're choosing this thing, this goal, and we're choosing it over ourselves. And so I feel like understanding, even though these are things that I want, that I know they will make me happy, on that journey there, what is it costing me to get this said happiness? Correct. And then when I have this said happiness, am I even truly happy? So I feel like that's what it was. But yeah, for sure, it's like, everybody's married. That's what, that's a part of my family culture. So that was a motivating factor for me to, number one, of course, clearly get married, but number two, I was doing whatever I could to try to make it work.
To overlook those.
Yep, and to overlook it.
I can't lie. Before I even get to that part, I know you said, obviously, the day before the wedding, he pushed you. Obviously, you said it wasn't a hard push, but in a sense, if it wasn't even in a playful way, which even that has to be done lightly, the playful way, but in a sense of if it was an argument and y'all had a disagreement, and that was, that's obviously now looking back, 2020 is hindsight.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. That was it. I had actually, before we got married, I had a dream. We were in our house. And at the time, I still don't like spiders, so I'll say it like that. But in the dream, in our house, it was like spiders kept coming out. And I remember having that conversation with God,
signs.
It was a sign. And I mean, even still, I'll say this, I prayed. I was like, God, is he the one? And I never heard yes or no. I just was like, full steam ahead, baby. It looks good on paper. We're good. He's nice. We're traveling. We're doing all the things. This is what the relationship goals. I don't even think they were saying it at that time. But
nah, you young. They was saying it.
Were they?
Right?
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Nah,
I'm gonna take that one.
you young, so
yeah, I am. So all of that, it's like, okay, it looks good on paper. So it was just causing me to value the wrong things.
Correct.
Instead of looking at, again, and I'll even say this is to women and men. It's great to have a financially stable partner. That is always the goal. But you need somebody that is kind. You need someone that is considerate. You need someone that is trying to evolve through their experiences. Many people go through experiences, they pack them up in a box and they put them in the back of their head, and they either try to ignore that it happened, they try to not process it, they try to, but they don't understand everything that we experience shapes and forms who we are at that time and in the future time.
Correct.
So if I don't analyze what happened, what role did I play, whoever I'm mad at, maybe I have a right to be mad at them, but how long can I carry this anger?
Yeah.
So just having those internal conversations with ourselves and having a person who is willing to be vulnerable with themselves, with you, with God. Like, if I act like it didn't happen, I'm not over it. And I feel like oftentimes there are people who have been molested, mistreated, rejected, abandoned. And we just act like, okay, now that I'm at this big grown age of 24, 34, 44, it doesn't matter. And your inner child is still so wounded.
Yep.
And it's like, can you just still come back and love me at that point in time when those things happen? Can you go back and pick me up? And so I feel like having a partner who understands that, it is truly invaluable. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want you to be all into that, and you can't, but it is about a balance.
Correct.
And so many times as women, I can say this for myself, I've personally done this, putting too much value on his success, what he does, what he can do, what he does for you, versus how he treats you. Versus when we have an argument, are we really resolving it, or do we just
act like it's not there, move on
until
it comes up again?
Screw and fight, or know what I'm trying to say.
I got you.
But, and I mean, there's a time and a place for that, but we do still always need to go back and say, hey, what really happened? The other night you were mad at me, I was mad at you. Having somebody that's willing to do that, that's where the
more
relationship,
important.
That's so much more important. Because I'm really of the mindset where, number one, again, I'm a strategist, so I can figure anything out. That's financially anything. We can figure it out. So, and I'm going to make sure I'm aligned with somebody who can also figure things out and make things happen. But outside of that, I need to make sure that, again, that kindness, consideration. What is your relationship? Do you have a relationship with God? Do you believe in a higher power? Do you believe in forgiveness? Do you believe in letting go? What was your childhood like? Do you have a relationship with your dad? If you didn't, how have you dealt with that? Or are you just still telling yourself it's okay? Your mom was your dad. Like,
yeah, that's a whole nother
That's
topic.
a whole nother story, because I can really go into that one the long way, but I'm not going to. But again, even though we have values and things that are important to us, there are so many other important points in a relationship that we cannot look over just for additional financial stability. And I mean, I go back and look at it, and I'm like, I was already doing well for myself, but it was that extra stamp. I do feel like a lot of times as Black people, we do like to be elite. We like to.
We are elite.
We are elite.
We'll say Black people for lack of a.
So what I'm saying when I make this comment is that we're still dealing sometimes with things that have happened in our past. Racism. We still want to. Because we are intrinsically elite. We want to make sure everybody knows it. Instead of just embodying it and knowing it within ourselves. We like to wear our elitism, if that makes sense.
I got you.
And so, of course, marrying a it was a certain prestige that came along with that. And so again, hindsight is 2020, and I was definitely short-sighted on looking at the gold and the glitter, and but like they say, everything that glitters truly isn't gold.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, man, like I said, so much we can impact. I want to go back again because I can't lie. I know you was like laughing, not at the situation, but you did do a laugh, but obviously it wasn't at the situation. I can't lie and say I was mad. I'm glad you're in a place where you were saying, obviously, the feeling of a man's fist on you. Well, not a man, let's be clear, but that person's hands on you just back to back as a fist. Like, I can't lie, that pisses me off just thinking about it, and it's just like, it fills me with anger. So I commend you for being in a place where it's like you're at peace with it. I'm not at peace with it though, but as long as you is,
listen, it took me.
Nah.
It took me a while to get here. I mean, and I do. I thank my God, me. You know, I am
Everybody played a
grateful.
role.
I'm grateful to where when I share this story, I don't have to burst into tears. But trust me, that took time.
Yeah.
That took me unpacking the story. It took me sharing my story. So trust me, when I first even used to think about what happened to me, tears, waterfalls. Even when I used to share it initially, still tears hurt. This is somebody I love.
Yeah.
I went down the aisle with this man. I had a child with this man. I carry his last name. So trust me, those feelings of anger and rage, I don't want anyone to think that they weren't there.
No, for sure.
For sure. Like, yes, for sure. But I am grateful to say, like, I even have this, it's still like the conversation that I was having with God. This was years ago, but it's like, you know, at the time when the relationship was very tumultuous, I'm like, you know, God, what am I supposed to do? Show me a sign. Da, 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 da. Show me a sign. Show me a sign. And little things were happening. And I'm still praying, like, show me a sign. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And then back, like, I'm going to give you the sign of your goddamn life. Now, either what you going to do? This is what you're married to. Don't keep asking me.
The signs.
I gave you about 6 red flags, 8 red flags. Don't ask me any more about this situation.
Yeah.
Now, either you have the strength to pick yourself up, pick your pieces up, and allow me and yourself to put you back together again, or just know what you're dealing with. If you want to say you're a doctor's wife and you want to live this imaginary fake Huxtable, I love the Huxtables, right? But you want to live this life that is not even real, then you can have that too.
This is what come with it.
But yeah, so I mean, and I do feel like that is, you know, I'm one of those kids, like, you know, I do have to be tightened up a little bit, but it was just like, I'm gonna give you the sign of your life. And I mean, I had a black eye, so it was literally like, show me. My eye was so black. I want to say, like, so Key Glock has this line. No, I think Young Dolph says it. He's like, my eye so red, look like I've been smoking blunts with Satan. My eye was so red, like a blood vessel burst in my eye. Because after it happened, I was just crying. I was just broken. I was just crying so hard. So it was black. It was red. It was ugly situation. Like, we didn't even get into this, but we made it back to the house. He was still acting crazy because, like I said, we left and it kind of happened in the car, but we weren't too far from our home. So we made it back home, and it was just still like slightly like going down. Like, I went and knocked on my neighbor's window. I was like, I didn't even know. Imagine. Like,
you in shock.
Look at me now.
Yeah.
I was knocking on I knocked on this woman's window so hard. They were a married couple. Bow! I broke this woman's window. Broke her window.
Cut
some
yourself.
Glass went into my wrist, like blood, like the squirty sound, that blood. Like, definitely. No, I'm so grateful that I can smile through that now.
Yeah, for sure.
But it took prayer. It took me looking at me, admitting whatever I looked over. Like, how things like that, they don't happen overnight. So it's like, I have to admit that to myself. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't like, you know, it was like, it is the story. Like, yeah, one day it just blew up. But there were little breadcrumbs, little signs leading me all the way there. Yeah, I knocked on that lady window so hard. I was like, oh my God. help.
Yeah.
Out the window, bro. Like just different things like that you never forget. But I did have to look at it. I had to. So because I faced it, I can talk to you now.
Yeah.
But if I just put that in the back of my head and just said fuck him and and then just move on to the next guy and just that's how you show up in the next relationship. Repeating the same cycles. You're finding the same person in a different person with a different face. I do believe like life is all about lessons and levels. This is a game. Like this is a game. So in order to get to that next level, you have to eat all those coins. You have to learn all the moves. You have to beat whatever that big level. That's the games I used to play. I don't know how they play them anymore.
Pac-Man or something.
Pac-Man or something like that. You beat the Super Mario. You beat this big dragon thing. And then you go to the next level.
Correct.
But until you do all of those things, you learn all of those moves, you address it. You also face that demon. And the first time you face that big thing, you don't win.
Yeah.
You have to, your life ends a couple of times. Then you go back and you say, oh, I got to move like this. So it was just like that. Like this is a game. So in order for me to master my own personal game of life, I will not skip over any lesson. I will not, because that's how you become a champion. A champion is owning the lesson. This situation, it doesn't own me anymore. Yes, that happened. It is a part of my journey. And you know what? I'll say this, because I did grow up in a, overall, like I said, my parents, they got divorced when I was like 15, but I grew up in a 2-parent home, a Christian home. Like, you know, it gave me some depth that I didn't necessarily have. It gave me some grit. It caused me to figure out who I really was. And so who I became after that, it's like it was meant to happen. It was meant to happen. The strength, like when you pick up all your pieces, I had to pick up all the little pieces of my life, sweep them up, put them in a little Kroger bag. I didn't even have a cute bag. I had to put my just in a little Kroger bag.
Crazy.
and take that bag and say, how am I going to create a beautiful mosaic from all these pieces? But I had to decide to do that. Oftentimes we leave those broken pieces. We don't want to look at that. It's ugly. We don't want to tell people we've been broke. We don't want to tell people I've had a car repossessed. We don't want to tell people I've been cheated on, or I cheated on somebody, or I used to be, like, we don't want to tell all those bad parts. But that is truly how you become a champion, because, you know, when you go through those bad chapters, there's also shame. Shame is the thing, like, you don't want to share. You're afraid of what somebody may think, but you have to get over that shame, because there's so many people that need to hear our stories.
Facts.
And I do believe that when we go through these chapters and these levels, it is to go back and give somebody the wisdom. I do want women to know, yes, make sure that he's secure, but make sure that he's kind. Make sure that when you argue, he doesn't feel like, well, I pay all the bills, so what? I'm wrong. Now what? If, like,
using it as leverage.
That's the worst situation to be in. I do want, he does need to make money. You need to make sure you have money too, because at any point in time when you need to walk away and leave, you need to have that power. You need to have that autonomy. Like, so yes, but because I've been through these stories, I can tell a woman to say, hey, or even a man. Like, it goes both ways. But yeah, I couldn't have that grit unless, or that depth. I like to call it just, it definitely, it deepened me. It deepened even my strength within myself. You know, we went through a nasty divorce after that.
We're going to talk about it too next. No, we're going to talk about it, because that's all plays a vital role.
All that play, listen, those divorces, like, it took a lot.
No, we about to get into it, and I want to say this, because like I said, I'm glad you said what you said, because I know I said I was angry, but I don't matter in this sense, because for you to be at peace with it, I'm gonna just have to deal with how I felt. Obviously, I wasn't in that situation, but hearing it, obviously, it makes me mad, angry. But I don't matter, because hearing you being able to overcome it, and other people that's been in that same situation, seeing that you were able to overcome it, that's vital.
Listen,
this life or death.
I had to take that anger, and so I believe in the power of alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
So alchemy is just all about taking a lump of coal
Mm-hmm.
and creating it, taking something ugly, black,
Mm-hmm.
something that nobody thinks is of value, and creating it and
Mm-hmm.
making it gold,
Making it a diamond. Yep.
making it a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just the power of transmutation. So I had to take that anger and transmute it into my own peace.
Correct.
Like, you know how many people are bitter
Mm-hmm.
about stuff that's happened so long ago?
Hmm.
Like, bitter.
Unfortunately,
And
yeah.
still, like, man,
It don't matter.
I'm still blessed. God has,
Facts.
and again, just the woman that I evolved into
Mm-hmm.
after that situation
And continuing.
and continuing.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you go through things like that and you realize that God is so on your side. You realize the power that you have in yourself. I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that had I not been in that situation. So,
Correct.
Yeah.
Nah, like I said, I want to give you your flowers now
No,
because
thank you so much.
that's vital. Again, like I can't say it enough. It's life or death, and that's vital. So I
It
definitely
is.
just want to give you your flowers. I want to say this too. I know you said you have 4 brothers, and obviously I know you didn't mean anything by it when you said you was trying to get your licks back. I want women to know that even if you've been in that situation and you feel like, oh, you should have fought back, what can you give them to tell them or let them know they're still powerful, even though they didn't fight back? I know you did, and it's like because you have 4 brothers, but for the women out there that like, dang, I just felt powerless, like I didn't feel like I could do anything, what can you share with them, an intangible or even tangible, to let them know like I'm still powerful or they're still powerful?
Yeah, for sure. The first thing is you have breath in your body. And I feel like if you have breath, you can still make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact you're still breathing, the power is really choosing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The power is saying, you know what? I took that L, but what led to it? And how can I make sure I don't repeat this?
Yeah.
What do I need to look at within me? That's the power. It's like, and it's honestly like, also knowing he didn't win anything.
Mm-hmm.
A man, you don't get any points.
No points.
For bossing up, slapping
not
a
even
female.
Bossing up. That's some
talking, like, exactly.
Yeah.
But like, you don't get any points for being aggressive to a woman.
Yeah.
Whether you're arguing verbally. Some women, it's verbal.
Yeah.
Some women, it's financial. Some men, they financially abuse. It's so many different forms of abuse.
Yep.
So it's really like, whatever situation you're in, the power is in choosing not to stay there.
Correct.
The power is in choosing, okay,
I deserve more.
you already see it.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to say, am I going to believe that this is all I can create for myself? Am I going to believe this is the only relationship I can create for myself? Because I guarantee you it's not.
Yeah.
I guarantee you can create something better. But if you're struggling with it, to me it's like, just go within. I feel like self-love. Pour back into yourself. That's the choice. Okay, so definitely if you have breath, continue on. But be prepared to walk away. Create your exit strategy. Like it's more men, it's more chapters for you to write for your life. It's more men out here for you to date. It's more money for you to have access to. It's more life for you to live. It's more joy. It's more laughter. It's more drinks. It's more beaches. It's more sunsets. It's more moon rises. So the more that shame and you're isolating yourself within your thoughts, living step out of that. Don't be worried about, well, if he's paying, what am I going to do? You're going to figure it out. You're going to survive. You're going to live. That's what you're going to do. And really on the other side of that fear, that's really where life is. That's where the life is.
Facts.
And even when you put yourself in that uncomfortable situation and you see the resilience that you have. See, I could never be played. I know I'm so resilient. I know I have been through that. Again, all the other things that came with it, the resilience, the confidence that I have in me, the confidence to know now, number one, I won't be in that situation again. But number two, even when trust me, like some people were still like, you gonna leave him?
Yeah.
I still had people like, well, now he's a dentist. You sure you're gonna leave him?
The level of what they put on value is crazy. The level of what they put on value. You're like, they pretty much saying the money's more valuable than your life and your peace.
You still gonna...
I hope you cut those people off. Of course you did. My fault. Who am I asking? Yeah.
You know, then you even have the Bible thumpers. They're like, I
The
want to
Bible
say
thumpers.
the Bible, you know, and I love God, so I don't want to, but you know, you have the Bible
No, they need to
thumpers.
be smacked though, respectfully.
They pull the scripture out as some scripture with Moses, like, oh, you're not supposed
You
to
should have
get a
smacked them
divorce.
with the Bible, respectfully.
Now, I will respectfully say, like, I definitely had words with those people as well.
Somebody need to smack them
My
with the
throat
Bible.
chakra has always been active, and so I definitely, like, what? You know, please. But still, so as a woman, you have to, as a person, the biggest thing you can do, I say this all the time, the longest journey I will be on, the longest relationship I will ever have is the one with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to walk this earth with myself the longest. We're going to process things the longest. I'm a mom, not my kids, not my mother, not my husband, ex-husband. The longest journey I will have, and the most fulfilling one, is the one I'm going to have with myself. So every time you choose a situation, another person, you're really telling yourself, I don't love me. And so, you know, we post the self-care and the self-love and the brunches and whatever we buying, but it's like, do you really love yourself? So that's really what I would challenge any woman who is like, love yourself enough to walk away from
it all. Within, like you said, I'm glad you said that, because we was just talking about that. Within is where you're going to really find it. And like you said it already. So I'm glad that's something everybody can walk away and gain something from. I want to talk about the divorce now. Like, what was that process? Like the divorce, and then also explaining this to your child, because that's a whole nother level to it. And I want people to know, like, that's in that situation, that may have a child, young child, newborn, whatever age, that's like, okay, I have to separate because this is between our life or death. How did that pretty much conversation journey go? Because it's not just one conversation.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, again, we were together the entire time. I had a beautiful pregnancy, all of the things, and so the one of the unfortunate, but you know, things that happen, fortunate, is that, you know, my daughter she was not quite 2 when that happened, but it's still certain things she remembers from that night, and she'll be like, Mommy, you remember when Daddy pushed you out the car? And like it's so for one.
Did that bring you chills? Not to cut you off. Does that, like, when you heard that first and you were still in that journey? Did that bring you chills? Because that just brought me chills. Like, damn, like you thought he was pushing me. Yeah.
It definitely did, because that's what I want to tell everybody is, kids are smart. They are sponges. Smart. So please, like, even arguing in front of your children, that's a no-no. Like, I even grew up in a time where, like, my parents would tell you, we having grown folks conversation. Even if my mom was on the phone with one of her homegirls, it was like, okay, you all need to leave. I never, even though my parents are not married, they did get a divorce, I never really saw them arguing like that. And so I would encourage anyone, like, as much as you can have those heated conversations away from your children, and exercise that emotional intelligence. It does take emotional intelligence, but we're all spirits. Your child, they're a spirit, they're a sponge.
Agreed.
And so being around that anger, those high voices, the yelling, that does leave an imprint on them. And it leaves an imprint on their DNA, which affects their future generations as well. So it's just like, you have to also take all of those things into consideration.
I'm glad you said that, because I want to shout out Julian Gordon and his queen, right? I heard he just had pretty much spoke about it.
I like Julian Gordon.
He just spoke about that the other night, right? And his thing was, he pretty much combated that with, instead of saying separated from the children, is more not in a negative way, but in a healthy way. Have those conversations in front of them so they can see conflict resolution versus, okay, every time mommy and daddy has an issue, you see them separate. Because then that child may take that. And it's like it's a thin line. Like, you're always trying to figure it out. But
No, absolutely. Yeah. If you can, I do believe in that.
Okay.
If you can have if the emotional intelligence is there, that's perfect.
Positive conflict resolution.
Let's talk. Because children, they need to know.
Correct.
When I'm faced with something, I don't have to slam the door. I don't have to throw a drink, walk away, curse you out. We can get into this dialogue as long as you want to. And you know what? Peacefully. I also believe, like, teaching your kids, it's not that you're right, they're wrong. It's like we're just having a meeting of the minds, and sometimes we still won't agree, but that's still okay.
Agreed.
Like that's
1000%.
so definitely demonstrating that. What I'm referring to is when people are arguing and in a space of anger.
Correct. Okay.
And
Agreed.
you're cussing it. Like if your words, again, this is really about emotional intelligence too, because you have to have emotional intelligence to say, it's getting heated, but I'm going to keep it at this level. I'm not going to call you out your name or, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
If you have that, go for it, for sure.
No, I'm glad you said that, and yeah, because that's something that we need to hone in on a lot more as everybody, men, women, of all, even kids should be doing that, so they learn like conflict resolution, emotional intelligence is vital. And I'm glad. Also, I just want to back up because I'm glad you said abuse is in more than one way. And that's also like why I have these conversations privately with my friends, my bros, just talking about like, I don't want to be in a place where I'm using my money as a leverage to say this is what's going on. And I have instances like that now where it's like, well, if I'm paying this, I haven't done it, but I always kept it like, you know what, I'll just continue to pay it. Even though we may disagree, it's more of like, okay, I don't want to do that and use it as leverage because you didn't go my way when I wanted to go my way. Okay, it is what it is. We still allow, let's keep it pushing. So I'm glad you said that because it is more than one way to abuse.
Listen, if you're a woman and you're only focused on money, that same issue. Money is bark like a dog, hop on one foot. You moving my way? This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do.
America.
You catch him in a lie. You want to have an emotionally intelligent conversation. He shut down and then he just look at you like,
yeah.
That's the most, that is pain too.
Yeah.
It's not a physical, but when you know this man is not going to admit he's wrong and just look at you because he pays all the bills and basically tell you, you're going to have to eat the cake, anime. I don't know what you're going to do. I'm not bagging down.
Yeah.
And to know that, because to me, that's, love is saying, I will compromise. Love is saying, I'll be vulnerable. Love is saying, you know what, I was wrong. I shouldn't have texted her. I shouldn't have did this. That is what love is also. It's not just, I can love you in the good times. It's loving you enough to say, you know what, I didn't look at it that way, but I was wrong, and I want to apologize for the way it made you feel. I wasn't thinking about it. But when you have somebody, and they're not even willing to say that, and they're just like, that's, any woman who has been there, they know your heart just, it hits the bottom of your ass. It's like, oh my God, you're not going to apologize? Because it's really just words.
Yeah.
So
with
actions, absolutely. I do agree with that, but I will definitely say it's more than one way to be abused. It's more than one way to be mistreated. It's not just all physical. And so regardless of what, like, really, we all know what situation we're in. And if you're not having those internal conversations with yourself, how does this relationship even make me feel?
Correct.
Not what am I getting out of it? Because that's easy.
Yeah.
That's child's play.
Yeah.
So it's like, enough with the child's play. Like money, that's child's play. And it's not going to really help you get, and I do, like, we live in this world where we just see so much, and so it creates this desire, this greed, to where we
instant gratification.
I saw this this thing, they interviewed women and they were like, would you want a man who was all yours but he told you no 45% of the time, or a married man who told you yes 100% of the time? It was like, now this was just the way they edited the video, but from the way they edited the video, so many women were like, yes, I'll take a married man with 100% of the time. So it's just like,
not getting the full context. Yeah.
So it's just, I just want women to know, like, we set the standard for how whoever is going to treat us.
Yeah.
So you can't just say the standard is just money. The standard does also need to be respect, understanding, romance, courtship. Like, sometimes we just skip all the way over that to just like, oh, he's successful.
Because he bought you the Birkin bag, right?
So
that part.
But with talking to my child, like I said, there are some things that she remembers. So initially, it was abrupt. I could tell it was very different for her. One positive spin I did try to give to her when she really realized, like, it's separate and we're not getting back
yeah.
together. I would just say, you have 2 homes, you have 2 rooms, like you have 2 of everything. And what I did always tell her was that the most important thing is that you have 2 parents that love you. I said, now we may not ever see eye to eye, but one thing we do see eye to eye on is our love for you. You're extremely valuable to us. And I never, so now there's one thing, I'm never going to do anything to
take that away from
him or even create that image in her mind. Me and him don't get along.
No.
I know you love your child.
And that's a hard conversation,
and it's a tough conversation because there's a part of you still like
questioning it. Yep.
You know what I mean? I could easily play that role.
Yeah.
Your daddy.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we both love you. Yeah.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
And sometimes,
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Now on the divorce.
Wait, before you get to the divorce,
go
I
ahead.
want to say this, right? Matter of fact, I'm gonna wait.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know you said that you had a lot of people that obviously that should have got smacked with the Bible, or I said that because they was like trying to pretty much tell you to still deal with it because they felt that to be more valuable than your life. So what about the people that did support you? Let's talk about that because people need to know. There's people out there that will support you.
Let me tell you.
So let's do that before we go to divorce.
And let me say this because I do realize like some women who have really gone through domestic violence, one reason why they stay there that long is because they feel like if I leave, what am I going to do? Who's going to help me? But my mom and my best friend, like when I say we're just there, completely, like just loving on me, checking on me.
Shout out to them.
Shout out Jennifer Young and my mom. My mom's name is Ivy as well.
Shout out to them.
Dr. Ivy.
Dope name too. I gotta talk. I'm gonna go back.
My mom just graduated with her doctorate back in May. So shout
Congrats
out to my
to
mom.
her.
But yes,
shout out.
Just like really pouring into me. And when you go through something like that, even though the wounds are physical and on the outside, it's the brokenness that's on the inside that really has to be repaired. And so just, that the prayer that my mom gave me, just praying over me, speaking into me, loving on me. I like, we have to have people around us who are willing to pour into us.
Agree.
You have to have people who will tell you, you're still beautiful. You're amazing. Sometimes we're surrounding ourselves with people who their lips are tight when it's time to pour into you. And everybody's cup has to be poured into.
Correct.
So if you're around people when it's time for them to pour into you, the cheeks get tight and they're like, well, those are not your friends. You have to be around friends. Your girl who say, girl, I love you. You good? You good? Pray with you. Cry with you.
Facts.
And being with friends who you can be vulnerable with. See, it's the same thing with the relationship. Okay, you don't want to have these surface level relationships where you're just looking for the physicality or the monetary, whatever. But even with your friendships, you have to have the right people in your circle.
Agree.
At least, and I mean, it's not going to be everybody, but at least 2 or 3 people that listen, I need to talk to you. I need to come over. I've got a lot on my mind. Can you just hear me out for a couple of hours? And some people, well, you need therapy, but no. But I also need somebody in my sister circle.
Yeah, should be able to be some form of a therapy for you. Yeah,
or just be there for me. So having those people, I mean, I definitely, I was already going to church, but I believe in God. So of course my spirituality, but really, I was going to church, but my spirituality definitely evolved after that. It was no more praying and waiting. It was more like affirming and creating and saying, okay, God, we're working together. I'm not waiting on you to do anything. I'm not waiting on you to save me. I'm not waiting on you to even give me a sign. Now, I appreciate every confirmation. So I'm not, I love the confirmations, but I'm not waiting on there to make a move.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we pray and wait and then people get analysis paralysis and you never move. So it was like, that's one of the lessons I walked away with. Like, no, okay, we're co-creating. He's only going to allow what I'm allowing in my headspace as well. So I feel like, so God, of course, but yes, my friends. I mean,
Shout
I
out to
remember.
all of them.
Shout out to all of them. Like, shout out to everybody. Like, people who would babysit for my daughter. Like, because I had to.
Take those moments.
I had to start back, just going for it, just doing things, even just by myself. I definitely went into a season where I would just go to this was in Memphis, but I would go to Midtown by myself. I would go to downtown. I would go to an art gallery. I would go and look at murals. I would just go because I was like, okay, who am I? Who am I? Who am I without this wife? Or, who am I outside of all these titles?
Yeah.
I place so much value on these titles. Who am I? So I really had to kind of just even become my own friend again as well.
That you had to evolve to a new person.
Yep.
New level.
Sure.
Yeah, so shout out to all of them again, like I said, and I want people to know, I'm glad you said that, so they know it's somebody out there that will support them.
It is.
And even if you feel like you don't, keep searching because you're going to find somebody.
And here's the thing. When you show up authentically, your tribe will come to you. But if you're showing up with a filter on, you're trying to show up on your Instagram person and not your real person, then you're not going to find the right people because you're not even showing up to be the magnet for that which you want to attract. You're showing up as
what you think,
what you've been programmed or what. So we have to get out of that.
Correct.
And it just really kind of goes into like really knowing who you are.
Your new self.
Yeah, your new self.
Yeah. So now I'm glad you said that. And lastly, but I know we said we're going to cover the divorce. So I'll let you go ahead and speak on the divorce, and then I'll go into the last part of the divorce.
Perfect. Just listen, like they said, it's easier to get into than it is to get out of. The divorce, it took a while. He is a dentist, and he's Nigerian. Shout out to all the Nigerians, but they're very headstrong people. Well, I'm headstrong as well, but so we both. It was just clashing. So I had to get an attorney. For me, I do always look to support my African American attorneys. So every time I go to court. So anyway, long story short, I found a phenomenal law firm founded by an African American woman. My representation was an African American woman. He likes the Jews. Shout out to the Jews, no shade. But that's, how some black people or minorities, they feel like to have the best, you need to go here. And my attorneys, they definitely did their thing. So I was, everything that I wanted, I was able to walk away with. But I will say it was just still, court isn't one day. It's multiple appearances. It's multiple meetings. It's this person trying to dig through anything to try to to try to make it seem like they're not at fault. So, being willing to, sometimes you're under a microscope. So again, it's not just, I'm gonna get divorced and things are gonna be fine. That is a process. And it is also like a test of your mind because again, you're ready for it to be over, but you have to go to mediation. After mediation, it's still multiple meetings, parenting plan, child support, XYZ. Do the lawyer schedule match up? The lawyer can't do anything until next month. You're ready for it to be done today. Then the judge's calendar has to line up. It's so many
moving pieces.
It's a lot of moving pieces within a divorce. And so I would definitely say, if it is possible, I do think like it isn't anything wrong with having a prenup. And I mean, this is not just saying, I want half of his stuff.
The prenup.
I feel like as a woman,
update that paperwork.
Do your paperwork. America, we are a business. This is a capitalistic world. The most you have on paper, the better you are off.
Facts.
And the most you get on paper while everything is good, again, the better off you will be. So then when things are not good, you still go back to this document. And this is what we already agreed on.
It's an agreement.
And again, America's all about documents, business, paperwork. So that would be one thing out. And it's not, someone, again, if you can, do it. And even if it's just saying, hey, if things break down, this is how we want to treat our child. This is what I will do. If I was willing to support you in this capacity, I'm not going to take, but I'll support you 30%. I will do a fraction of what I was doing for this amount of time.
Yeah.
This is how we would treat our child. Like, just as much as you can, because again, the divorce, and it's still, 2 attorneys are battling it out, and it's still in that judge's hand to make that decision as well.
Yeah.
So it is a lot.
Yeah.
And it is not, it's definitely not something that's made for the weak.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to have mental.
You was built for it.
Yeah,
You
solitude. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Like
But it was times when I did, it was, again, so his attorney had gone to law school with our judge. So it's all types of things.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're
look,
still
relationships are powerful. We know that. Relationships are way more powerful.
Relationships are powerful.
Yeah.
I even had, listen, we had to go back when I moved to Atlanta. I had to get my custody done again. We had, because I relocated. So when you relocate with a child, so all of these things are paperwork.
Yeah.
So just to move, I had to go back, and that was like 9 months.
Yeah.
And it was not pretty.
Not pretty at all.
Just because of, it's still some tension there.
Of course.
And the judge he still used the same attorney, and the judge looked at his attorney, and this was towards the end, and she did, things went my way. She ruled in my favor once again, yes. But she told his attorney, she said, "I know I owe you a favor." She was just like, but she didn't say this part.
She said that on record?
She said this was like after they had,
off record or on
this
record?
Was more so like off record.
Oh,
but she was like, she looked at him and she's like, "I know I owe you a favor." But she kind of gave him that look like, but this ain't the one. And I just, again, just things that show you still though, like, God is on my side. She literally owes him a favor. They went to law school together.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I still came out
on top. Yeah.
Victorious. Triumphant. How can I not
Ivy
call myself?
You came out Ivy.
I came out Ivy. Like,
facts.
how can I not call myself a champion?
Nah, facts.
So no. So again, just things like that definitely deepen you and your appreciation for your children, for positive relationships. It lets you know, like, I need to address what I'm looking for in men. So I had to have that real conversation with myself as well.
Hey, look, again, I'll give you your flowers. Before we wrap, these are my last 2 questions. Because there's so much we can still talk about. I know,
That's what
you're
they
fine.
say in Mississippi.
You good. My last 2 questions is, so with that being said, would you get married again?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want people. I just ask that because I want people to know, like, even after that, if that's what you truly desire, it's okay to go through it again. Don't feel like you should bag back.
And I feel like sometimes, it happens when people are brokenhearted, whether it's from relationships or marriage. After they see it, they're like, "I'll never do that again."
Yeah.
But then you're not a champion because now you're allowing fear
to push
or your past to rule your future. And so that's one thing I will never do. I will never let my past keep me from hoping, desiring, and at the end of the day, obtaining. Like, I know I can have it.
Well, now I'm glad you said that, because it's something I need to reevaluate. Cause I said I'm never doing that again. But
I think I told you that. I think I told you that the first time we met too. I was like, "Don't say that."
Oh yeah, don't say what I'm talking about. Just wait.
Oh, no, not going into that.
But what does evolving through experience mean to you in your own words? That's the last question. Obviously, your whole life is that, but
evolving through means that, I wanted to say this earlier.
Go ahead.
It's a principle, and it's like the law of polarity. So the same way when the pendulum is swinging to the left, however far, however bad things get, however ugly, it's that same momentum is gonna swing right back to the other side.
I like that analogy.
And so evolving through experiences is knowing that even though I'm going through this, I'm gonna keep going up these steps and I'm gonna swing back through the other side. Evolving through experiences is saying, what is the lesson? Like, I can be pissed off at him. I can blame my mom for allowing this. I can be mad at whoever, whatever, the government. Like, we can all be mad at somebody. But really, what is the lesson that I'm supposed to be learning about me in this situation? That's how you evolve. And really taking the time to document it. Like, taking the time every couple of months, every year, and writing down what were the lessons. I was heartbroken. I was broke for a while. I made some bad financial decisions. Writing those lessons down and really going back and reflecting on that. So you can even see how you're evolving. So capturing those moments, but being willing to look at it and take accountability for your part.
Accountability. Favorite word.
That is how you evolve.
Yeah.
We play a role in every situation, good or bad. It just is what it is. We play some role in it. So what do I need to do? What was I meant to learn so that I can grow? And once you learn the lesson, then you evolve. If you don't learn the lesson, you will repeat it. So you're not going to evolve if you don't digest whatever you're supposed to get out of it.
Hey, man, y'all heard it from her. Y'all heard it. That's vital. I'm glad the analogy you use. I definitely love that. Where can people follow you at?
People can follow me on Mogul Money Mindset.
And I'll tag you at the bottom.
Yeah, for sure. Tag me on the bottom. I have a link tree. Definitely tap in with me. Again, I am a business development officer as well. I also have an ebook entitled Why I Decided to Stop Being a Strong Black Woman. That's on my link tree as well.
Yeah, I'm going to need that. I'm about to, we're going to post that at the bottom too.
For sure. For sure. So thank you so much.
Nah, for sure. It was a pleasure having you on. So if y'all gain anything again from another episode of Evolving Through Experience, like we said, it's life or death. We growing mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and beyond. If you gain something, share it. If you didn't gain something, still share it. And at the end of the day, bro, look, we got to change, man. We got to evolve because it's no other way around it. So make sure y'all check us out on all platforms at Evolving Through Experience, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is, you name it, follow us, check us out. Lastly, follow it and join our Discord, free Discord, where I'm going to be sharing free weekly information on how we can all heal and grow in every aspect. And like I said, it's free to join. It's a free community. Let's share all our experiences, be transparent, and how we can all overcome it. So make sure y'all follow us at Evolving Through Experience. And again, one last thing, I just want to shout out my aunt and my entire family because, again, her is particular because she gave up a kidney a few weeks ago. And again, this is why I say it's life or death. We got to take care of our health.